Hi, and welcome to PSC 215, Scope and Methods. I thought I'd start by telling you guys a few things about me. That's Dr. Baranowski. I will be your professor this semester. You probably figured that out already. Anyway, I have been here at NKU since 2001, that's an awful lot of years now. It doesn't seem that long, but that's just because I'm old. Anyway, I originally got my PhD in political science from UK, just, an hour or so down the road, I guess. Though originally I'm from Cleveland, which you would think would make me a big Cavs, Browns, and Indians fan, and you'd be two-thirds right there. Actually, my main love in life, aside from my wife, of course, and political science, is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I can hear you Bengals fans already reacting in a very negative way to that. I will try to keep the football talk to a minimum. I can usually do a pretty good job of that. Anyway, let me go into some really basic stuff first about what PSC 215 is all about. Sometimes in some quarters this course has a reputation. It's not exactly the course that people are lining up around the block to take, and I get that. Before we get into that, though, I just want to clear up one basic thing. It's scope and methods, not scopes and methods. A lot of people seem to make that mistake. I don't know why. It's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. Go figure. Anyway, so what does that mean? Scope and methods. Well, the scope part is about what the scope of political science is, what political scientists do, what the various areas are about, that sort of thing. The methods part is, as you can probably figure out, what methods political scientists use in doing the things they do. We're going to focus almost entirely on the methods. We'll talk a little bit about scope, different fields in political science and so forth, but what this course is really all about is teaching you about some of the basic ways of thinking and some methods that political scientists use when we do the things we do. Now, one thing I should point out is this isn't a statistics class. That's one of the reasons I think people tend to freak out a little bit about scope and methods, is that they think it's going to require a lot of math, or they're going to have to do some weird number manipulation stuff, weird advanced stuff with Greek symbols and all that kind of stuff. That's not the case at all. There will be some math involved, but it's going to be so basic that you were able to do this kind of stuff probably in 8th grade, I would guess. So if that's what your concern is, don't worry about that. Another thing, one of the reasons why I guess people have, avoided taking this class when they could, is it's not the most inherently interesting class in the world. That's just the case. That's just how it is. And anyone who tells you different is trying to sell you something. And that's because this class focuses on techniques, not on political science topics like constitutional law, international politics, or something like that would. And so that means that if I were to go on and drone on for 40, 50 minutes, you would get bored out of your skull, and I get that. So what I've designed this class to do is to be as little as possible, just the bare minimum necessary of me talking at you, and mostly designed around you actually doing things, trying to put the techniques I talk about and that you'll see on the PowerPoints into application, which I think will be a lot more interesting to you. So, by the end of this course, there are a few things that I hope will happen. Number one, probably the most obvious thing, is that you learn the basics of social science research. That's kind of what this course is technically all about. A second and related thing is that I hope you learn to think at least a little bit like a social scientist. And what I mean by that is to think critically, to be able to think about problems rigorously. And what I hope you'll find is that the stuff we're talking about, that we'll be talking about this semester, the stuff you'll be doing this semester, it definitely applies to political science, of course, but it applies to so much more, almost every element of your life, even outside of political science. Almost any major decision, I think you can use some of these methods, and I think they can make your decision-making a lot better. Make sure you don't fall for fads or weird people who have a good line of talk or anything like that. And then finally, I hope that this course teaches you to become a better political information consumer. I know that almost none of you are going to go on and do graduate work in political science. If you do, that's great, of course. But what I hope you do, and I hope you're in political science because you're interested in politics at least somewhat. And I hope the things that we talk about in this class, that you do in this class over the course of the next 15, 16 weeks, some of them stick with you, and so they'll allow you, when you're watching the news or reading the news, to be able to pull out the things that are BS and to make better sense of the things that politicians and the media are saying. So, more specifically about the class. If you haven't already read the syllabus, please read the syllabus. I tried to make it as clear and comprehensive as I possibly could. And I think it outlines more or less everything in the course. If you haven't done that, please do that. And if you have a question about anything, the first thing I would suggest you do is look through the syllabus and see if there's an answer. There's a good chance that there will be. But of course, if there isn't an answer to your question about anything regarding the course structure, what things are worth, when things are due, any of that, please let me know. This is particularly important, I think, in an online class where we don't have the face-to-face that we would in a face-to-face class. So please read the syllabus. I know reading the syllabus probably makes scope and methods look exciting by way of comparison, but please do that. And then let me know if you have any questions. One final thing that I wanted to cover in this introductory, it's not really a lesson, it's an introduction, is assessment questions. For some reason, we are required to assess what you have learned. Now that, of course, it makes sense. You would think we do that through grades. We do, of course, but we also are required to do another type of assessment. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is at the beginning of the semester and then at the end, there's going to be a series of questions for you to answer on Blackboard. Make sure you answer those within the next 7 days. Okay, you need to do this within the next week. Now these questions, they'll be in a section called assessment questions. They won't count toward your grade. They'll all be about things that we'll be covering this semester. They'll all be true or false questions. And if you don't know, just give your best guess. Guess. And then at the end of the semester, we'll see the same questions again. I'll ask you to do the same assessment. And ideally, you'll have learned a whole lot, and I'll be able to say, see what a wonderful professor I am, or something like that. Anyway, so please do that. Make sure, again, that you answer those assessment questions, which are on Blackboard under assessment questions, within the next week. Okay, that's it for this time. Short and relatively painless, I hope. Next time we're going to take a look at what is political science, and there's no additional reading assignment for that.